They run the damn executive branch. They own the Environmental Protection Agency. They claim to care about people. They don't care about people. That's the bottom line. Whether it's inflation, whether it's crime, whether it's open borders, whether it's this in Palestine, Ohio, they don't care about people. They care about power. Well, we have this other environmental issue right now. There's others besides Palestine, Ohio, but I'm talking about Palestine. And Joe Biden has no intention going there for the reasons I've been saying. It cuts completely against the narrative. It shows that people of very modest means, mostly white, in a Republican area, that there's a train system that goes right through their community, so it wasn't picked based on race. And those trains carry toxic chemicals from time to time. And it further shows that these people have nobody representing them in civil rights communities and so forth and so on. They're not mentioned or represented in any of the equity executive orders, which are really notorious, that Joe Biden signs and issues day in and day out. And these people are basically of no interest to the Democrat Party. That's the bottom line. So Biden has no intention of going there anymore. He has an intention of going to the border without the Potemkin village set up there to really see what's taking place there. He's going to avoid anything. He's going to avoid anything that can change his own view that he's such a great president and that he's trying to project out there. So let's take a look at this. This is MSNBC, the morning schmo, who's become really the biggest propagandist for the Biden administration and the biggest propagandist against anybody who's raising questions about the Biden administration. Go.
Biden administration is reaching out personally to residents affected by the train derailment and toxic chemical spill along the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. Teams from the Environmental Protection Agency, FEMA, and the CDC knocked on doors of over 530 East Palestine households over the weekend.
You see the date of this story? It's February 26th. It's 3 weeks late. They're knocking on doors and so forth. And prior to that, they told them to come back to the community. Everything's fine. You can drink the water. Now they told them to stop. It is a complete mess. The Environmental Protection Agency really isn't about the environment. It's about trashing capitalism and industry and redistributing the wealth, just like everything else the Democrats do. Go ahead.
Are providing flyers with additional resources and conducting health surveys. EPA.
So if you want to know what the government talking points and propaganda is, that's the show. There's many of them, but especially the morning schmo. Because right now she's going through the list of things that have been handed to them by the White House. Go ahead.
Administrator Michael Regan will also make his third visit to the town today. He's expected to announce a new community center where residents can meet with various agency staff members. Meanwhile, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro says he's meeting with officials from Norfolk Southern later this week. The Democrat says the rail operator refused to participate in the unified command in the early days of the crisis and did not provide enough information to federal officials.
Oh, with all due respect, they had to gather the information too. And we've now learned it's a ball bearing on one of the wheels of one of the trains. One of the train cars, a ball bearing. You know, folks, I'm going to say something that's going to be very unpopular. Sometimes things happen. No matter how much safety is in place, no matter how hard people work, and these engineers apparently could tell something was going on, it was getting overheated, they tried to stop the train and they couldn't. We know that much so far. But what's interesting to me is we don't get to hear from anybody. We get to hear from people, governors. Who gives a damn what the governors have to say, quite frankly? Go ahead.
Clearly, they've been bad actors in this case, and they have a responsibility now to make it good for the good people of Pennsylvania, make it right, make sure that the air they breathe is safe, the water that they drink is safe, the farmland where their animals roam is safe, and where their crops are harvested is safe. They have a lot of work to do, and it's going to come, the cost will come out of their pocket. The federal government has made that very clear, and I'll make that clear as well. And then I think they have a responsibility going forward to make sure something like this never happens again.
Well, I hate to say this. This exact kind of accident may never happen again, but something like this will happen again. And these are the same Democrats, I might add, who believe in CAFE standards, which is the biggest killer on our roads. Lighter vehicles, more aluminum, more rubber, more plastic, very little steel anymore in automobiles, so the people are not that protected anymore in the cabin of the car like they used to be. So we have tens of thousands of people. I've studied this. It's in Liberty and Tyranny. Tens of thousands of people dying every year on the roads because of CAFE standards. But when you look at the pattern of the EPA, Flint, Michigan, and what happened to the water there, slow to act. There's still huge problems there. You have this Palestine, Ohio, slow to act. There'll be huge problems here, and they can say the railroad and all the rest, and I got that. But why are we paying for this massive bureaucracy that is so lazy, that is so bloated, top-heavy, that is so slow? They're not filled with laboratories and scientific experts and all the rest. For the most part, the EPA hires private subcontractors and contractors to do the work. They set up the building, they put their name on it, EPA, and so forth. But most of it is the private sector. Go.
And I'll expect Norfolk Southern to be far more transparent with Pennsylvania if they bring these trains through our Commonwealth in the future.
You know, it's so interesting, Willie, with Republicans.
To be far more transparent. It was an overheated ball bearing. I don't even know what's meant by that. Eric, go ahead.
Joe Biden nonstop and constantly focused on Joe Biden. What they've done is they've deflected from Norfolk Southern. So people aren't talking about what Norfolk Southern's responsibility is all the time.
That applied to them.
Or the regulations that the Republicans stripped out, that Donald Trump stripped out. So if they keep it on the Biden...
See, this is the problem with buffoons like this. It's, are you on Team A or Team B? They don't want to get to the facts. Protect Joe Biden at all costs. Protect the Democrats at all costs. And then there's some guy at the Washington Post. It's amazing. This guy, Glenn Kessler, is a liberal, but apparently he took a truth pill or something. He writes a piece, so far Trump's rollback of regulations can't be blamed for Ohio train wreck. And when we go through it, he says there's nothing they did in the prior administration that would have, contributed to this. And yet Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough say exactly this. Why? These are talking points that came out of the White House. Because Joe Biden takes responsibility for absolutely nothing negative and takes credit for absolutely anything positive. And even if he can lie and spin and turn things into a pretzel and make them positive, he takes credit for it. So this wasn't the prior administration. The prior administration had nothing to do with it. So far, Trump rollback of regulations can't be blamed for the Ohio train wreck. There it is. Of all places, the Washington Post by Glenn Kessler. And they went through every conceivable regulation that was rolled back. And they said no. Now, Joe Scarborough the next day, he didn't go on TV and apologize. He didn't go on TV and say, look, I'm a complete hack. He didn't say that because he is. But he is a complete hack. It didn't take much. Joe Biden had he and Mrs. Schmo over at the state dinner, and they had a grand old time. That's all it took for these two. I remember when they used to be all over slobbering Donald Trump in the early days. Now they're slobbering all over Biden. So it's Trump's fault. It's the Republicans' fault. It's the railroad's fault. Okay. But it is not Biden or the EPA or the Democrats who are responsible for it. They run the damn executive branch. They own the Environmental Protection Agency. They claim to care about people. They don't care about people. That's the bottom line. Whether it's inflation, whether it's crime, whether it's open borders, whether it's this in Palestine, Ohio, they don't care about people. They care about power. let me put a footnote, the only people they care about are the people in their base who vote for them. But otherwise, they don't care about people. These people are not in the base, so they get the back of the hand.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.